Welcome to Why Though Wednesdays. I'm your host, Tasha Mallette. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am on a mission, and that is to empower individuals within organizations to challenge the status quo respectfully. I am so excited. This is my very first episode of the podcast, Why Though Wednesdays. The hardest part about dreaming up a podcast show is actually putting the content together, and that meant coming up with the first question. So I reached back, put on my CPO hat, and also just started to think about my career trajectory and came up with what I think is a brilliant question for the first episode to give you a little preview of what you can expect week after week. So, the first question is, drum roll, I didn't get the promotion. Why though? I felt like this was a really good question to kick off the episode because it's a common question that's asked very frequently. And in this episode and in the podcast, what's unique about it is we are going to go below the surface level into the depths of the organization to a place where things are typically unspoken and or unseen to most, to give you a holistic picture of that problem. So from there, you can see the possibilities as to why you didn't get the promotion. So that's what we're going to do in this podcast episode. And as I was preparing, I started to just do some self-reflection. Again, as a head of HR, as myself not getting a promotion a time or two, and really just starting to think about the why. And again, this program is going to go below the surface level. So we're not going to talk about things like the performance expectations or attitudes and behaviors or discriminatory employment practices. We all know those exist at the surface level. We're going to go deeper. And as I went there, I came up with 3 reasons why people typically do not get the promotion. The first, it's you. The second, it's them, your manager, your organization. The third is it's the universe, God, creator, source, yourself, whatever you believe is the force of good within the world. These 3 things are what we're going to unpack during this podcast series. I hope you stay with me, you learn something, and you grow. Before we get started on exploring those 3 possibilities, I think it's important to acknowledge the feeling of not getting the promotion. The things that are unsaid or unseen that impact us as we go back into our role. And as I reflect on when I've been told that I wasn't going to get the promotion, I remember being angry, in some cases, feeling defeated, feeling like all of the energy left my body. So much so that in some cases, I didn't even ask why. I'm not even sure if I cared at that time. And in the times that I was present enough to ask why, I didn't really get great feedback that would help me in competing for the role the next time. It was more of just providing me closure that I didn't get that opportunity so I could return to my current role. Neither of those are okay. And I think it's really important in the context of this discussion for employees, for individuals, to actually be present in that moment. And I know that's hard, but asking and pressing for the answers will help you in the long run. And for employers to be more transparent with individuals in terms of why they did not receive that opportunity. I think an important aspect or feature of this podcast will be the ability to hold space for the feeling of the question. And I think it's important for a number of reasons, but from an organization perspective, when you can empathize with the way somebody is going to feel when receiving that message, you have an opportunity to really improve the way that you're communicating with the individual. So now you have a sense of the feeling. So as you're approaching the conversation, being able to also then create a trusting and open and honest space to be able to have the difficult conversation, even if that doesn't happen in one pass, but inviting that over a course of time when the individual is ready to receive. So with that being said, we are moving into the 3 possibilities as to why you didn't get the promotion. The first one is a little sensitive. It's a tough pill to swallow, and trust me, I've had to take the medicine several times. It's you. Let's put aside the fact that you're qualified for the position, right? You have the education experience, you have the background, inner knowing, you've done the job pretty much, right? But you didn't get the promotion. Isn't there some aspect of that that means that it was something that was inherently you? Not wrong, but inherently you. There was something that others perceived you not ready for that promotion. And a lot of times these are things that are unsaid, unspoken to the individual itself, because it's hard to communicate to someone without offending that individual. So sometimes it's just left unsaid. But I think from my experience, it is one of the core reasons why people do not get the promotion. And think about it, right? We're all hearing more about coaching emerging in organizations and the process of people doing this deep inner work and really understanding who they are, what they want, how they're going to get it, and why. And I think a lot of us are doing that work, and we have very clear intentions and motives behind the reason why we want that promotion. However, there's a dynamic that's playing out in the culture that's not allowing you to actually express that honestly to your manager. And it really kind of goes back to my parents' generation, the silent generation. I remember when I started working and I would get interviews or I was being considered for a promotion, my mom used to always tell me, don't share that with anyone because they can sabotage you, or somebody may try to compete for the position and take what's yours. Or there was some fear aspect that I really didn't understand about not allowing people to help you get to where you want to be. I couldn't really understand it because I'm like, how am I going to get there unless I'm voicing what I want? But I think that's a dynamic in organizations, this silent generation dynamic that has emerged in organizations, has kind of settled in the foundation. And so you have a lot of people who have done the work and they have very clear intentions and motives as to why they want the promotion, but they're not comfortable sharing that with their managers or human resources or other people in the organization that can actually help them. That fear aspect is paralyzing a lot of people from getting the promotion. So if you think about the cultures that many of us exist in and the fact that people don't feel comfortable, number one, sharing where they want to go with their manager, then you have this unseen, unheard dynamic of an individual, and all you have to judge what their motives or intentions are then are the way that they're moving and behaving. And so in your head, if you want that promotion and you didn't share it with your manager, and now you're taking on or asking for more work, or you're now trying to communicate with the boss's boss, which you've never done before, or you are trying to take projects that give you more visibility across the organization to be seen, people start reading in or perceiving the motives perhaps in a negative way. It can be unfair because there should be a dynamic where managers come in and say to the employee, here's the read on you. Tell me what I can do to help you get to where you need to be. Sometimes that conversation doesn't happen, but it is the reason why you didn't get the promotion. So it's very important to be clear about the intention, but it's equally as important to begin to take off this baggage that we brought with us from different generations, this armor of fear, to put it down and to begin to have open conversations with your boss until they prove to you that they otherwise are untrustworthy. I understand that transformation and change takes time, but this is just one step in the direction to get to that emerging future and the possibility of being able to really share your intentions and your motives with others and have the positive intent that they are and will help you get to where you need to be. So I think that's one aspect of this, right? Is just the courage to begin to do things differently within organizations. I do think from an organization perspective that requires as well the managers to begin to have more open and honest conversations. And a lot of times they feel beholden to employment law or the risk of a litigation claim by giving honest feedback, and or they themselves don't know how to communicate that message to others. The intentionality of wanting the promotion should be clear. We should be able to talk about it in organizations openly without fear of retaliation or sabotage. So the final thought on this really is that if we're talking about you, it is your commitment to understanding who you are, where you want to go, and why. And once you have your intention and your motives, that you're able to share that with others, with the manager, with human resources, with those that are there to support you within the organization and your development and growth, and to be able to receive the constructive feedback and take action. Hold yourself accountable to do the work that it takes to get to that higher level or version of yourself that's required to do that job. I've seen very few individuals be denied a promotion when they were on that journey. The second aspect or possibility in terms of the reason why you may not have received the promotion is it's them. It's your manager, it's the organization structure or culture. I'm going to walk you through a couple things that are below the surface here on this section. And the first thing is going back to the intention and motives behind the promotion is that many organizations, the only pathway to promotion is to be a people leader. And let's face it, the majority of people do not want to manage people. They're a subject matter expert, individual contributor, and they want to grow in that way. However, the organization does not have that structure in place. And so therefore, the only way that you're going to move up and have and get more money and be promoted is to take the people leadership track. Trust me, as an HR executive, as an OD consultant, this has been a problem within organizations for years. And it doesn't seem to change. It is a perpetual challenge that plagues organizations. And so the invitation may be to really create more individual development tracks, individual contributor development tracks, instead of having people take on the leadership role and or flatten the organization so that you're working more in teams instead of the hierarchy. But for people stuck in that environment where you're making a decision that really is probably based on you wanting the next thing in the organization, but likely primarily it's a money driver, right? You want more money, so now you have to take on people in order to get there. I think in those situations you have to be very clear, going back to you, what it is you want. And if that was never something that you aspired to be, not something in your deck of cards, doesn't align with your purpose or your desired outcome in terms of your career, then it's not something you should really go for unless you're willing to put in the extra work that it takes to be a people leader. So I think there's on both sides an organization perspective where there could be some transformation in structure. But from an individual perspective, there needs to be an assessment of the U North Star and whether this truly aligns with where you want to go. And on the money aspect, I think the other thing that comes into play for many organizations is that we're not inviting this space for employees to really be clear about their intentions for the promotion. Let's face it, the majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck. How many of you actually have employees coming to you asking for a salary increase because they've told you that they can't afford their rent, or their car note is behind and about to be repossessed, or they can't put food on the table? Most people don't feel comfortable or safe sharing that with their managers. Instead, they're going to compete for the promotion. So I think there's this space of bringing the human element and for us to face the facts in organizations where we invite people to be able to share their financial struggle with us. That doesn't mean that organizations have to open up their purse to fund employees' lifestyle. However, what it does mean is that you have really good workers that need income in order to retain their employment with you. And so there should be conversations with employees about what we're doing with the comp structure, how we're looking at the merit process, how we're aligning incentives and bonuses and things of that nature, so that people are able to earn a living wage within your organization and don't necessarily go on a promotion track that, again, doesn't align with where they want to take their careers. So I think there needs to be this open dialogue. The other aspect from an employer perspective or a manager perspective is that sometimes these managers then are in conversations or in positions that they have to have difficult conversations that they're not equipped or prepared to have. There are so many times from an HR perspective where we are providing coaching to managers to really empathize with the employee, but also be able to provide direct feedback. And I think that's an area that organizations tend to struggle with. So if you have you've gone and applied for the promotion and you were told that you were not being considered and the communication was off, a lot of times that's the reason why, is because the manager just didn't feel comfortable either, number one, sharing with you the aspects of yourself that they don't feel like you're ready to receive, and or if they share it, you may be offended. Or number two, that they're just not prepared to have that conversation, and they're not prepared to deal with the emotions from that conversation. And I think that really is disappointing, but it's a reality. And that really takes both parties to make some adjustments, right? Individuals need to be open and willing to receive the feedback and understand that it's coming from a genuine place to help you. And although it may hurt or sting at first, it's the reality of the situation, and you're going to have to swallow that pill. On the other side, managers need to be in position and be prepared to be able to carry out these difficult conversations. And that's not surface level conversations, that's the deeper conversations about the things that you've noticed about the person themselves that needs to change in order for you to trust in their ability to perform at a higher level. So I think these dynamics within organizations come into play, unfortunately, in a promotion uh, consideration for promotion. I think the other aspect that comes into play from a manager or from an organization structure perspective that drives me nuts is that the job description for the position that they're going to be promoted into is written at a level of like a VP. They want a master's degree for a manager. They want 7 to 10 years of experience for the manager. They want this person to have experience that there's no way this person gained in your organization at a junior level, because you're not offering any type of job readiness and or rotation where they would gain those skills. There's no training programs to help people build the competence at those levels. So I think, again, going back to the structures, the job description itself, we really need to uh, break this down, because I think a lot of people have overinflated what's required for the job and have pushed out people who have transferable skills from different industries, different positions, different things that they've been able to demonstrate within the organization that don't show up on the job description. And therefore, that person is not considered qualified because they don't literally have everything that's here. And on top of that, we can also talk about employers wanting degrees and certifications, but they have no tuition reimbursement programs for people to be able to actually acquire those skills and that knowledge and education in order to successfully compete for the job. So I think from an organization perspective, unfortunately, the reality is that we've created some internal structures that are not conducive to allowing people to successfully, internal candidates to successfully compete for a promotion within their very own organization. So it's a structural thing, it's a communication thing, and there needs to be changes at an organization level. In those situations, it's not you, it's them. So we're at the final possibility. Possibility number 3. The reason why you may not have received the promotion is because it's the universe protecting and guiding you. I can't explain to you enough the number of times that I have seen this play out for myself and other people in organizations where it almost feels serendipitous. It comes out the blue for the right person in the right moment. It is unexplainable and it's just right. It just feels right. And it's outside of what you even could conceive would be a possibility. I've seen it play out in so many different ways. I'll share a couple with you. And one is the person does the work and they know exactly where they want to be in the organization, the position. They've made it clear to their manager. They have done the skill development necessary to compete for the job, and they've competed for it now 2 or 3 times, and they have been rejected each time. And then out of the blue, this position opens up. Either somebody was in it forever and they vacate the role, or the organization has a need for that position. And this person's name comes up in the conversation, and it's like they're a shoo-in. So they're catapulted into this role, no resistance whatsoever. And as soon as they land, their career takes off. It's almost like they then find their true purpose. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's the most authentic version of that person, just naturally gifted and able to do that job at a level that most people aren't. And there is this moment where the person could have stayed fixated on what they thought their career trajectory should be. and not gone in this direction. And so there has to be this open and willingness that we have as we're considering our career, the ability to let go and allow what's meant for you to come in, to consider it at least, and be willing to explore it and open enough to take the risk and the chance and see where that leads. It's played out for me in my career. I recall being on the East Coast and really feeling like I wanted something different, new environment, different type of organization that I've worked for, the ability to be creative and innovative. And I kept getting more of the same in the area where I was in the East Coast. And all of a sudden, an opportunity comes out of nowhere in on the West Coast in Los Angeles. And I at first said, there is no way I'm moving to the West Coast. It was the best decision for me, career wise, but also just the lifestyle change. Had I been closed, of course, the universe would have taken care of me and I would have been where I needed to be at that time. But taking that leap of faith for me put me where I needed to be. And I think it's important for us to stay open as we're considering career opportunities, even if that means making a move. Another thing that emerges in this space in terms of the universe is sometimes we have a skill that the universe, that the organization can't see. And we know deep down inside it's part of our purpose. And there was a reason why we were part of that organization for some time. But you know it's time to move on deep in your heart. You know what your skill is and your value that you bring to the table. You're just not able to do that within the current organization. And then there is a possibility or an opportunity that emerges outside of the organization that puts you in a position in an organization that sees your value and allows you to live your highest potential. And I think these are amazing opportunities for people to remember that sometimes it's not you, it's not your organization, it's not your manager, it's the universe. And we need to continue to be open when those doors close. We need to continue to be able to see doors opening and explore those possibilities as well. And there you have it. We are at the end of episode 1 of Why Though Wednesday podcast. I'm your host, Tasha Mallette. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope there was something that you learned at the individual or organization level that will help to create change in the way that we manage promotions within the workplace. I'm here every Wednesday. I hope you join me on my mission to empower individuals within organizations to challenge the status quo respectfully. See you next Wednesday. Take care.